There you, hi, Becky.
This meeting is being recorded.
There we go, everybody.
Am I loud enough for you?
Yes, we got you and want to get you in on the roll call. So you're here, so we got you. Thank you.
Okay.
Everybody else on the roll call. Chairperson announcement, just the county and all the agencies involved in the helping deal with those poor folks that got flooded, and both on the hillside there and on Pine Avenue are working really hard to help the community and stuff get back to some kind of normal, whatever the new normal is going to be. But I want to put a shout out to all the folks that are helping and the agencies that are helping and everyone else. And that was my statement for today. Anyone on the committee have any announcements they'd like to make?
Well, I would just put a shout out also to Becky McFarland and Emily Miggins for their help with the flood victims there on Vista Court. They started it off and have done just an incredible job getting things organized. So things are moving forward now, I think, thanks to them too.
And Annette Seeley.
Yes, Annette Shealy and Quinn Brady with their Support Los Osos group.
Yeah.
We're up there. I was able to, we had the little dingo tractor and I was able to do a lot of earth moving and bringing people food. Lots of good helpers up there. And nice to meet some more neighbors.
Yeah, and for all of you, Becky, that have put out there, I want you to know the rest of the community is behind you in gratitude and thanks for doing above and beyond.
Oh, well, you're welcome. It's, you know what, I really enjoyed being there. I like doing that. So thank you.
Good. Okay. So that was committee. Okay, we've got a public comment here for anyone that'd like to comment on anything that is not on the agenda. We try to limit it to 3 minutes so it doesn't take all evening. If anyone would like to make a comment, either signify by raising your hand. I think you can do that. If you go down to the bottom of the screen, there's something you can click on to raise your hand, or if your video's on, we can see on the video to do that. I'm not seeing anyone wanting to make public comment. Okay. Next, we have to approve the minutes from our January meeting. Anyone like to make a motion?
So moved.
I'll second.
Second. Okay. All in favor of accepting the minutes, raise your hand. Julie.
Hand is raised.
Okay, thank you. There we go. The minutes are approved. With that, so the first item we have on our list is a project from Christian to Christian. I'm not sure how to pronounce your name. We're going to open your mic. Your last name.
Yeah, Christian Turan.
Turan, and it's a request to open a gaming arcade over by the Ralph's supermarket. Christian, you wanted to give a brief description of what you're going to be doing there?
Sure. So I am going to be opening an arcade with 30 or so games, and we're not going to be doing like quarters or tokens. It's going to be admission based. So you just pay a fee at the front door and come in. All the games you can play as long as you want. And we plan to do like birthday parties, private party rentals there, and just something to offer to the community for, fun recreational space.
Is that
Okay.
the gaming room behind you?
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I had some pictures too that I can show you, and like kind of like a floor space if you were interested in seeing kind of like the layout of how it would be at the moment.
Okay, well, I'll leave that if any of the committee members would like to see the layout. Lindy, I see you got your hand up already.
I think the layout is something that we don't need to see necessarily, but I was curious, are these like vintage machines, or are they the more modern electronic? I guess I have a objection to a lot of these games that show a lot of violence, and then when you have 12-year-old kids watching it, it's a negative societally. But I was just curious, are they more older style?
Right. Yes. Yeah. Most of my games are from 80s and 90s. Think like Pac-Man, Galaga. 90s like Street Fighter. Games like that.
How fun.
Mhm.
Um, Are there any other questions from members of the committee?
I have my hand up.
Becky, yes, you got your hand up.
Actually, not a question, but just good for you and thank you. My boys are grown now. They still like video games. But yeah, we've had a couple of arcades in the past and they were really popular. So thank you for doing that, Christian.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And I love the one price thing at the door.
Yes.
Larry,
Okay.
Lindy has the question.
Go ahead, Lindy.
I guess I had another just general question about why this is coming to us. It doesn't seem like a project that's using water or changing things. So it's a curiosity as much as anything, why this should have been on the ministerial. And I'm just, again, I don't understand when it's ministerial and it's a big project that we don't see it when it's something small. They're asked to come before us. So it's a general question about why is the county sending us this project when it's a different type of project.
Right. I agree. And I understand. The county states that a electronic game amusement center, which what I'm classified as arcade, if I have 5 or more machines, I have to apply for a minor use permit. And it's just part of the process that I have to go through right now to open the doors.
Lindy, I'd like to answer part of that. I think part of it, the musical Music Man, where the bar down the street is opening up a pool hall, and pool halls have bad connotations. I think this gaming room, again, if it had the new 3D blood and gore videos in it, might have people in town might have some objection to it. Also, I think by having their one fee to enter and not have to pay for each game takes any gambling or addiction, away from it. So I think county, wanted to get the feedback from the community. Is this going to be a sleazy old pool hall, or is it going to be a nice pool hall? And I think Christian, as he's laying it out as a nice arcade place, somewhere you wouldn't mind your kids going to for a couple of hours, or an hour and having fun with their friends. And, it's not going to be a dark, shady place that things go on in the background, So I think that's why the county wanted the input from the community. Just an observation, I think, but I've been trying to figure it out also. Any other community members, or not community, but any other committee members have any questions or comments or anything? If not, I'm going to open it up to the community then. Anyone in the public have any questions, comments, or anything about Christian's project? Robin, are you seeing anybody?
No.
No? Anyone like to make a motion on this project?
I'll make a
For this
motion.
project?
I'll make a motion that we move it on to the LOCAC on consent agenda. And I think it's going to be a great project for them.
A second.
Okay. All in favor? Signify, raise your hand or smoke signal or something. And Julie, you there?
Hands
Hand
raised.
is up.
Oh, there we go, Julie. Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, that's
I'd like to
unanimous
do a
then.
question.
That's unanimous. Christian, this is going to go to our LOCAC meeting, which is the fourth Thursday of the month, which in February, that's going to be the 23rd. Again, it's going to be a Zoom meeting, very similar to this. We are recommending it goes on the consent agenda, as we don't see any issues with your project. We wish you good luck and hope you show up at the meeting there real quick, and it should be fairly simple. Okay.
All right, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Christian. Okay. So moving along, the next item I had on the agenda was a discussion about the retrofit program, in which I wanted to get the ideas of the community, because I haven't heard much from this company that's been hired to come up with updated retrofit program. You know, myself personally, I think it's been abused and taken advantage of by some unscrupulous people out there. I think other people have been very upfront and very honest with it and actually could make a project like this work. But I think there's other people that are taking advantage of it. And with that, I'd like to open it up to comments or questions by committee members first. I'm not going to put a time limit on anything, but if conversations start getting to be too long, I don't want to drag this on into the wee hours of the morning. That I will put a time limit on it. So any comments or questions from committee members? Oh, hi, Becky, go ahead.
Hello, I just wanted to be brief in the beginning. I'm not sure if everyone knows when this program went into effect. I went ahead and printed out stuff from the county actually months ago to find out more about this, and that it was implemented in 2008, and that the ordinance was to address seawater intrusion into the lower aquifer zone of the Los Osos groundwater basin. And from what I've read and seen in the basin management annual reports, is that we also have seawater intrusion into the upper aquifer. And we know that they're going to be shifting to pumping more in the upper to reduce seawater intrusion into the lower. And I just wanted people to be aware of that in case they weren't. Also that Coastal Commission back in April of last year. Are you guys getting that echo?
Do you have your phone on?
No, I don't. So I just wanted to make, but is it echoing for you too?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I don't know what, should I go? Well, anyway, I'll
Well,
finish
you're-
this. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say you're not echoing now.
Oh, okay. I don't know why that was. So anyway, there's also, there's a memo from the county from April 29th, 2022. And part of it says in a letter dated April 19th, the Coastal Commission staff asked the department to not accept any coastal development permit applications for filing that cannot demonstrate that they have legal access to both sustainable water and wastewater treatment. And then later it says, the department does not currently intend to implement any interim changes to how it processes applications for development. So they have been continuing to do that, to issue permits with the regular, Title 19 credits or certificates as they have been. And that's it for that part.
Okay. Lindy, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I've gone back and done a little exploring on some of the data also. I believe the program is 2-to-1, basically means the idea and the hope is that we would not take extra water out of the basin by following these retrofits. So, and again, as you said, Larry, I'm not sure that it's been followed. When you think that somebody has to get 300 water credits to build a single family home, then that's, I don't know how many, again, it's so vague. You could take a 1.8 toilet and change it up to a 1.6, that gives you 0.2 credits. And to me, it would almost seem impossible to get 300 water credits without changing out, a tenth of the town or something. So I've always questioned it. I thought it was a little bizarre, the numbers. I know that the Madeas Water Management Company, I'm echoing now, but I know that they've had a good reputation in the past. So
I couldn't understand what you said, Linda.
I don't know why I'm echoing. Maybe if I stand back further, sit back. Again, Madeas Water Management has a pretty good reputation. And I'm not exactly sure, where they're coming from. I have not been able to, I probably just didn't go to the right place to look at any advances that they have or discussion. They say that it should be out sometime this spring. They'll have the new numbers calculated. And I just found a lot of things, changing a 1 point, some of the examples were, oh, and the reason that this has taken almost 2 years now is that they had difficulties obtaining historic consumption data. I'm not sure what kind of an excuse that is, because how did they put the program in the first place? Another one of those odd questions. Phase 1, they say, was completed November last year. But I didn't see any way to look at what phase 1 might be.
This is phase 1, Lindy, that's coming out in the spring.
But where is it? It is on.
They haven't produced it. I'm sure they're going to blame COVID and everything else that delays everything around this country nowadays. But it's coming in April. That's phase 1. Or I don't know that they characterize it as phases, but part 1, and it's going to be a tech memo and it'll have numbers in it.
Okay, it just seems odd that they say that phase 1 is completed as of November. So on their website, they say that, but then they don't give you anything to look at yet. So I guess it's not really completed yet for the public.
So that's my understanding too. Larry, you opened with, is it all right if I go?
Yeah, go ahead, Julie.
A couple minutes. You opened with, you felt there were abuses. And is that why this is on the agenda? Let me just say that seeing this on the agenda without someone from the county to explain it, I think we're just throwing mud around, or I don't know what a metaphor would be in this situation, but we don't have someone correcting misstatements that is of authority. And I think that would be more valuable if we actually had someone from the county to help with this conversation. And if you'll allow, the goal of the program was to be water neutral. So by implementing the 2-to-1 offset, we're guaranteed to at least be water neutral. If we save more than we use, that is the benefit of the program. So the history, the 2008, that's accurate, Becky.
Uh-huh.
The Title 8, the Title 8 program where the retrofit on sale, that one has not been changed at all over the years. There's been adaptations to the Title 19 program. Things have changed over time, and I can pinpoint those for you if you want me to go through kind of a timeline. But Title 8 is still a 1.6 gallon flush and a 2.5 gallon per minute shower head. Those are the exemptions. So when a house sells and they have those are higher flow fixtures nowadays. If those are in there, they don't have to replace them. I think something that LOCAC might want to do is actually speak to the Title 8 retrofit program and encourage that it be updated to lower flow fixtures for that exemption, bring that number down so that those 1.6 toilets start getting changed out. You'll remember that the sewer project didn't change 1.6 toilets, and those are higher flush toilets that we could get down to 1 or 0.8 even, saving a lot more water. There's a lot more water to be saved by putting in the higher efficiency fixtures. Do I get 3 minutes?
That was somebody coming in, Julie.
Oh,
It
okay.
wasn't-
I'm familiar with that beeping. Anyway, I think, can I maybe get an answer from you, Larry, about what kind of abuse you saw with the program?
What I started, and I have asked county planning to join us in this discussion.
Mhm.
And their first one is that they had, what kind of things are we questioning? And so that's why I wanted to start the discussion so we can come up with a list of questions that I can give whoever is going to be coming from the county to our next meeting. There's some questions for them to answer that questions that we have. So I do want to have somebody from the county present, or discussing this with us. But their thing is what are we going to be discussing? I also want to have somebody from the county discussing with us about code violations. That's another subject,
me
but that's
too.
not that's not this subject. This is these are items for discussion. Just as a community, we should be asking these questions.
Well, but at the same time, if the county's telling us that the Madaus report's coming out in a couple of more months, then why aren't we just waiting to hear what that is and then have questions? I would think that's where we're going to have our biggest questions. What is the new program look like?
Yeah, and Julie, you might be right. You and I are very, very involved in this. I want to educate and inform more of the community about this so that when the report comes out, they're not starting from ground zero. There are people in Los Osos still don't think there's a water issue here with Los Osos water. They just are not aware. And so what I'm trying to do is just raise awareness on this. And so with the
Well-
retrofit that,
I don't think I've met anybody who doesn't know that we have a water issue.
I have
Okay, well,
plenty of them. I asked them, do you know that our aquifer has been overdrafted for decades? And they're like, I don't know anything about our water situation.
Hmm.
And I query people out here at this trailhead.
mm,
Hey, because I meet a lot of people, and it's pretty amazing that they honestly don't know. Or they just bought here and were not told. I have a brand new
so
neighbor
if they
across the
just
street.
bought their
What?
home- If they just bought, their home should be already retrofitted.
Well, right. They're not worried about the retrofit. I mean, yeah, because we all, yeah. Anyway, no, it's just in general, even if their own home is retrofitted, if they move in and put in sod or whatever, this was, and can I interject this question in here? Because I understand what you're asking, Julie, about why we're talking about this. And I like that clarification from Larry. I think a lot of people are questioning it too, because that's what they're being told is used to allow for new building. And people are still saying, but we have a moratorium. So there's still some people that don't understand that.
Well,
So I
that
think-
goes back to the prohibition zone, Becky.
Well, I
It's-
know, but you honestly, you'd be amazed at how many people really don't understand that. They
Well,
don't
but
know.
But I think the prohibition zone, yes, there's building. It's very slow. It's 2 houses a year, or 3 houses in 1 year and one house the next. It's on average, it's 2 houses a year.
Right.
So,
And I know
those-
Carrie Brown had said at a meeting, well, this is going to happen slowly. But when we look at the data basin, there's minuscule changes to it getting better, but the seawater intrusion,
Right, but
is-
isn't that what Madaus is working on, is to maybe strengthen these 2-to-1 offsets to something else? And they gotta have the science or the math behind them to
Well,
make recommendations to
right.
change the program.
and my question on that is, I was at, I've just started attending basin management meetings in the last year or so, year and a
Mhm.
half. And when they're giving out information, and I looked back into old reports, because they're like, you need to read the report. So I've gone back to all of them where they're saying that people are only using 40 gallons per person per day indoors. So they're not counting any of the outdoor use. And if that's a number they're using as part of what they're figuring out. And here's one that goes with that is, so someone builds a bigger house because they got lots of credit somewhere else. Oh, there goes that echo. Sorry. We're still only talking about indoor use.
That's all that the plumbing code can do, and the health and sanitation code is Title 8. That's all those codes can do. If you want to offset water use in the gardens and the yards, that's another program.
Well,
And
it could be, but they're allowing people to build with Title 19. And let me say too, I'm not against people getting to build. People have been waiting forever.
Mhm.
But if our water supply is not secure and sustainable, and they're saying not till 2050, then that is a big concern. I mean, we honestly don't know how much people are using per day. I mean, even indoors, I know all kinds of people using more than 40.
Not at my house.
Well, I know, or ours, and I think probably everybody here is like, I know Lindy's been putting buckets in her shower forever. But I know many people aren't.
Well, actually, I mean, the bucket in the shower is only as good as getting that water out to use it somewhere.
Well, that's true, but that means they're at least aware of the water situation. That's what I'm meaning.
So what is it that you're looking for, Larry? Just kind of some guidelines from the program? I mean, so the what it is right now versus what maybe we want it to be. A single family home has to get 300 points, and what that is 2-to-1. They estimate that a single family home uses 150 gallons per day at the indoors, so they have to offset by 300 gallons. residential multifamily house has to do 225 points. So it's a fraction lower because less is used in a apartment than a house. A mobile home, 150. ADUs, when they're allowed to be built, they're 150 points. So they're estimating that mobile homes and ADUs use 75 gallons a day interior. So if we're looking for Medal's to change those numbers, he might be. We just aren't in there to, see what's going on in that engineering firm. Lindy has her hand up.
Go ahead, Lindy.
I guess I wanted to come back with the elephant in the room is that anybody can use any amount of water that they want in their home once they've done their retrofit. And we know that many people could give a dang about how much their bill is, and they will use. So we have absolutely nothing to verify that those agreements that they will stay at 50 gallons a day per person or 300 gallons per day per household. We have no guarantee that any of that is meeting the requirements. So I think we come back to a further issue that maybe I believe that we need to have usage documented, and when people get beyond even a slightly abnormal usage, that there comes a look at what the heck they're doing with their water bills. So again, we can sit and say that the average person uses 50 or 60 gallons a day, but those of us that use 25 gallons a day are struggling to try to do the right thing. Whereas there's other people who don't really have the concern, and they could be using 150 gallons a day per person. It's just the way reality is. So if we're not very trusting, it's because I've been here before and I've seen abuse, and we're just trying to see if we can't get a program that simplifies it down or has some kind of control over where it goes after permits are issued.
Mary, Robin has her hand up.
Yeah, Robin, go ahead. I've been
Yeah,
waiting, Robin.
Well, two points to what Lindy was saying is my deal with the retrofits is how easy it is to switch those back. It's not difficult to put in a different shower head. It's not even that difficult to put the older toilet back in. For a while it was a Republican Make America Great Again talking point where the toilets said don't flush, but we know now technology, they're pretty good, those low flow ones. So that's where the problem
Where do you buy?
Excuse me, Julie,
I had
stop.
a question for you. Sorry.
Julie,
It's
Julie,
not,
let her-
it's my turn to talk.
Yeah, sure.
So,
I'm
and
sorry. I had a
so
question.
please stop or I shall mute you, which I just did because you were interrupting Becky when she was talking as well. So the second point, Lindy, that you asked about is there anything in place, or I'm paraphrasing, about when people are using a lot of water? And yes, I know for us, we had a water line break. We weren't aware of it. Our usage had gone up, and the CSD came and knocked on my door saying, you're using a lot of water. Maybe you've got a toilet running, or, whatever it was. And realized, looking at the meter, even when we turned the water off, it was still at our main, it was still spinning around. So that was indicative we had a leak. And sort of interesting enough, the person we hired to dig was Becky McFarland's son.
Oh.
Becky. So the CSD will contact you, or does contact people when there is larger than normal usage of water, which is pretty nice. And the other thing they did for us is, because we fixed it, they gave us a bit of a credit on our bill. They helped us out a bit. I think Julie was asking me about where do you get the shower heads? Well, that's not, she's got a point. They're not selling them here. But it's very easy if you have a relative out of town, or if you're traveling and you're driving through Arizona to swing through the plumbing shop or stop by Home Depot and buy the other shower head. or the water heater. And now I'm echoing, which is maybe the nudge to get off my soapbox and let someone else have a turn to talk.
There's also Amazon. You can order from.
I didn't hear you, Patrick. Can you say
I
that
said
again?
there's also Amazon you can order from. But I would like to just 2 points. First of all, the Coastal Commission doesn't recognize Title 19 or water offsets. So it really, at this point, really, it doesn't make any difference other than the fact that the county is trying to get, I think, more revenue by having people, go ahead and do what they should have been doing in the first place, because they had $5 million that they were supposed to use for retrofits and they only used half of it. The rest of it needs to be used up for that purpose.
They didn't have that money though, Patrick.
Julie, please
Oh,
don't interrupt me.
I'm sorry. I thought we were having a conversation.
No, we'll have a conversation after each person is through talking. Then if you have a question or something, they did have that money. That was part of the CDP that they had to agree to. So that was there. It had to be, or they wouldn't have gotten their permit to be able to build the wastewater project. So that right now the Coastal Commission is not accepting anything that Title 19 does. So that's one big thing. Second thing is the 2-to-1 offset sounds really good, but it depends what metrics you're using to measure the 2-to-1 offset. And if you remember, I think it was back in 2020 or 21, sometime back there, I did a slideshow of why Title 19 was not working. And I had on that slideshow a letter from Kylie Hensley, if you remember who she was. She used to be the water person for our area. One of the problems was that the county, in creating their metrics, were using this document. It was a state document that measured, among other things, water use in the state and everything. And they were saying that the average amount of washing for your clothes in a year for the average California resident was between 300 and 400 washes per year. They also said that the average household was 4.5 residents. Well, the county, instead of using an average between 300 and 400, they used 392 washes per year for our community. And they also were using the 4.5 residents per household, which actually they're saying it was only actually 2.5 residents or 2.2 residents per average household. So the metrics they were using were way off, and Kylie actually wrote back a letter, which, as I say, was in the slideshow, saying that yes, maybe 290 would be more accurate. Well, basically it's an admittance that what they were using was incorrect. And that is why now they are redoing Title 19 and coming back in April, supposedly, with a whole new metric. But the main thing is right now, Coastal Commission does not accept it. That's all.
Okay, thank you, Patrick. Any other comments or anything from community members? Becky, before we go around a second time, I'd just like to make the comment. Being on land use here, I've seen, well, again, this washing machine issue. Somebody claims they swapped out 4 washing machines to save, the 120 gallons of water for a house. There was no documentation of it. There was no houses, what he did it for, no sales receipt, no nothing. He just took the state, the online thing that the county has, the form. He filled it out himself, turned it into the county. Nobody checked it. Nobody did anything. And the county accepted it. The project still wasn't done, but that's the abuses I've seen. I've got a water certificate here from a friend, and I asked the county for the documentation on it. It said the county certificate says they have offset enough water to build a 3-bedroom house. You know, so I guess that's the 300 gallons. And I just asked the county the simple question, fine, show me the documentation that you guys used to give this certificate to this person. And the county couldn't pull it up or give me any information or documentation on this certificate, but they said the certificate is valid, they have to accept it, and that there's more certificates like this out there. And so that makes me question, you know, that there are people, not now, this isn't going to happen now, but sometime in the future, we are going to hopefully have some kind of stable water situation, whether we have to pump it in or pull it out of thin air or do something. But I do think, you know, it might be 20 years down the road, but they are going to have it. And at that time, I want a water offset, you know, maybe 4-to-1, but a real honest one where you can build a house and save enough water by building the house, you know, make it so water efficient that it's good for the environment and good for the community. And so that's where I'm coming from when I'm asking questions and trying to figure out what's in the future. What's the crystal ball going to show us? You know, I know we have issues right now, but I'm looking for, you know, ahead, you know, so we don't have to redesign the wheel in the future. And then Becky, you had your hand up next, and then Lindy, I see your hands up. Becky, you're muted.
Gotcha. There you go.
Oh,
Okay, now we are. I'm sorry, I had to get up and let the dog out. He was going to start barking. Now I forgot my question. I was going to say, can Dave and Bev go? They've had their hand up.
yeah, in a moment after
okay.
you and the
Oh, you know what? I think it was too. It's just so Patrick was saying that the reason that they're re-looking at all of this, you gave that reason. None of it was looking at the metrics from the basin management reports because they're not that great. And so that seems to me, as a sort of new person to this, that the retrofit program hasn't worked. If we're adding homes, and then, you know, on our street, we have basically a 2-bedroom starter home built on a garage that was built, and the county calls it a bedroom, without Title 19 retrofits. I do want to say, though, I know someone building, and they do have everything listed of the address and what was replaced at each house. So those things should exist. But I believe you, Larry, that they don't have them.
Okay. And then Lindy, you want to make a comment?
I'm going to go off topic a little bit, but it pertains exactly to this issue. And the laundromat in Baywood that was recently purchased and gutted of whatever, 30 machines. I've forgotten how many, but what that did, and that did not come through LOCAC. There's no discussion about taking out one of the major services that people that do not have the money to have a washing machine, they require. And what I'm concerned about is, and maybe that's a question again that somebody can make to the county, about whether that built up you know, like 6 houses worth of credits for those people. Those people that use that laundromat will be going to the other laundromat. In other words, it just puts more use on the one existing remaining laundromat. It does not reduce the water use from those machines being used. These are those weird questions that come up. We're looking at, you know, every drop wasted in this basin, and yet those whatever, 30 machines, how many laundry loads a day, blah, blah, blah. I am sure that the intent was to take those credits and use them towards purchase, putting new development in the future. And I wonder why it didn't come before LOCAC.
I wonder why it didn't come before LOCAC. Well, we look at it.
Sorry, we look at a game application, and that's more important than the fact that a whole laundromat was shut down and what happened to those credits. And so it's just something that's bugged me since it happened, and I really think that should have been something that LOCAC got to have some comment on. It affects the entire community, so. Just something
Okay,
different.
thank you, Lindy. Okay, Dave and Bev, you've been waiting patiently. I'm opening this up to the public now. And then Lisa, I see your hand is up also.
Hi, Larry. Can you hear me?
Hi, Dave. Yeah.
I just had a couple of comments. One is, we know that following the alarm on water use several years ago, many of us cut back drastically on the amount of water that we were using. And the amount, I think the CSD reported that we were using lots less water, but that hasn't changed the basin that I've seen. And so we're still keeping our fingers crossed and hoping that this pile of water that they're building up there is supposed to do what they think it's supposed to do. So until there's some positive results there, it seems premature for anybody to be talking about how well everything is working. Second off, Robin and getting feedback now. And it seems to be coming out of Larry's phone. Is there some reason that you're feeding back, Larry?
I'll
Yeah, see if that works. Anyway, so Robin and Patrick were mentioning, places you could get a replacement shower head. The county didn't make you destroy your old shower head. You could take it off, put on one for the inspector, and then put your old one back on in 5 minutes. So there's no requirement to go out of town and find a Home Depot where you can buy a different shower head. And so the thing that I think we're all waiting for is for there to be some results from anything, whether it's Title 19 or whether it's conservation, or whether it's some miraculous rainstorm that's somehow soaking into the ground. And around here, I found that the rain soaked in 4 inches. So that's not going to replenish the groundwater very fast. Anyway, the other point I want to make is at the LOCAC meeting, I think there's been discussion about raising the presence of LOCAC. And the telephone that's on here is also Dave and Bev, because we were having trouble getting through. So I just left the phone call that I made in connection. And so how many community members are there even at this meeting? And would it be possible for LOCAC and land use, in this case, to raise consciousness by maybe having an article in the Bay News or somewhere, so that the community could be alerted to issues like this being at land use, and maybe you could get more than 2 non-members to come to your meeting. So that's all I have to say. Thanks a lot.
Larry, you need to put your mic back on.
Is that me?
There we go.
Yeah, hi, you guys. Might be a little bit of repeat. Just wanted to say a few things. Water offsets, from what I've read, were initially developed for water conservation in general. Because, and this was back in a time through major droughts where it was obvious that measures to be taken could help communities. The thing about our water offsets, and especially after Patrick kind of crunched the data and saw that it didn't really pan out to the benefits that Title 19 was promoting. Sorry, lost my thought. The way they've been used often when you see permits go through is there's a list of checklist items for the permit. And some of them always stand out as the big ones, like I've got my water purveyor letter and I've got my credits. And it's like, it always seems like they've turned into something that they weren't initially intended for, that they're actually now used to justify building. And there's a real difference there. And the term water neutral, really, it's a very deceptive term. It's misleading. When builds are justified by false data and water offsets, this has been said already, but it doesn't take into consideration the user nor trends in remodeling and building, like a giant shower head, rain flat pan shower head, or bidets are really hot items now. People are putting in bidets, not in Los Osos, I don't think, but I know they are in other towns. That's the main thing I want to say. In a sense, when you hear these discussions around our Title 19 and water offsets and the just false term of water neutral, that things can be water neutral. People use water. There's no such thing as water neutral. Is that it's, to me, I kind of throw in that category of greenwashing. That's about it, folks.
Okay, any other comments from the community or members? Lindy, I see you've got your hand. And Becky, I see you've got your hand. Let's do Lindy first, and then Becky. And then Julie, I see you've got your hand up too. Julie after Becky.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
I would suggest that if we really want to get progressive and have a comment again towards what this retrofit adjustment and improvement might be, is that we actually look at the idea of having each water purveyor have a way of flagging extra overuse. If a new house comes in, it's going to be using, they promise 150 gallons a day, no more, but they're using 700 gallons per day, that there be some way that the water purveyor could flag them and let them know. I know of a property in Montecito by Oprah Winfrey, of course, who used more water than anybody else in all of Montecito for her gigantic 7 acres of forest and beautiful jungle. And I spoke to a woman from Regional Water Quality Control Board at an event, and she said that they're about ready to go in and cut her off because she refuses to comply because she has the millions of dollars to pay for her bill. In other words, is there a way that we could request that water users through the water purveyors have a flag put on their account when they go into extreme excess on after 3 months if they continue using it? Because to me, that's the only way that we're going to prevent abuse of the water use in our town. I mean, we're allowing them to build a house. They promise it's only going to be 150 gallons a day. And then we find out a year later that they've been using, an extreme amount. That gets us no place. Retrofit meant nothing in that case. It's just a idea I'm putting forward. And I know it's probably got a million legal issues, But I find that that's probably the elephant in the room, is to find out who is abusing the system and put a stop to that. Either tell them after a certain, abuse period that they will have their water cut off or something. Anyway, it's just another part of a discussion that we haven't had yet, but I think that we need it. Same as water meters on private wells. It's not expensive to do it. It's another program, but they were able to fund this retrofit program with no problem. And I don't know how much, good work has been done, how much bad work has been done. I don't know if there's any way of finding that out, but in the future, as we go forward, I think that would definitely have a big influence on abusers of our basin.
Thank you, Lindy. Becky, go ahead. And then
Okay.
Julie, we haven't forgotten.
Okay. And in response to Lindy, I did talk to Ron Munns at one point about water use. And as Robin said, they're good about tracking it, and they see who's using the most. It's confidential information. S&T didn't want to share or somehow they wouldn't share them with me. Golden State Water was saying, was it 60 to 80 gallons? Patrick might know that, but in LA they were putting restrictors on people's pipelines into their houses. They weren't cutting them off, but they had the little tiny hole so they couldn't get as much water if they were abusing too much. So those are some of those things. But also in talking about what Dave brought up about getting more people to come, when we had the Unhoused Residents Committee, we put on that forum. And, I was down there at Farmers Market handing out flyers and talking to people, and we put things out, and 80 people did show up for that. But it might be something like that a water forum could be put on for education and to get people involved in what's happening with our water situation. And they have promised that we were going to see information coming out of the BMC starting in January, because I keep offering, I said, if you need brochures or you need pictures or things made up, but nothing, as you probably have seen, nothing has come out. So education and getting the info out is important. And that's it on me.
Thank you, Becky. Julie, your turn.
Thank you. Couple of things. Larry, would you share the information that you have on the abuser certificates? You're muted. Sorry. Larry.
You're muted.
Larry's muted.
Yeah, Larry can unmute himself, but
There we go. So sorry about that. Julie, I'll have to black out the names and stuff so I can keep it private, but yes, I'll show you the rest of the certificate.
Can I ask you where you got it?
From the county.
Oh, then you wouldn't have to black out the names if they gave it to you with names. Anyway, whatever.
Well, I know the person who's the certificate, Julie, and personally I couldn't do that
Okay, fine.
myself.
Blacked out would be fine. I'd like to read
Okay.
that. And then I did a quick search on Amazon for a rain shower head, 12-inch rain shower head, 1.8 gallons per minute. So they can be low flow. Patrick, I really appreciate your work on the washing machine math, because obviously that was not well done at the county, and I'm glad that that's spurred a new way of looking at it with hiring Madaus. And I've advocated for a long time that 3-to-1 would be the next step, and we still haven't seen that, and I think that would help. It adds cost to the developer, but also some things that have come in recently is the ability to use the hot water circulation as credits. and they're allowing those to be put in homes in the prohibition zone, where the rest of the Title 19 offsets are outside the prohibition zone only. So again, thank you, Patrick, for working on that washing machine. Funny math. But what I'm hearing, kind of trying to help wrap up the discussion today, what I'm hearing is from several of you and me that an outdoor program should be something that we should advocate for and ask the county to implement. Some sort of, I mean, most of the coastal development permits that I've seen for new houses is that they are required to do a xeriscape or native plant drought tolerant stuff as a condition of approval. If they aren't, and they've gone in and put in, you know, bamboo or rice paddy or whatever they're growing that's heavy water using, that's a code violation. That becomes code enforcement. So if you see a new home that has, you know, more square feet of lawn than they were allowed, because there is a small allowance for some lawn in the coastal development permits. So if you see something that's abuse like that, call it in. They're violating their permit from getting the home built. The other thing I'm hearing is more education. And yeah, we have had a lot of new people move into town. So I would guess that there's a lot of people that don't know about needing to save water, even though their homes are probably doing it without their knowledge, because you're not feeling a pinch if you have all the high efficiency fixtures. But education and an outdoor program seem like things we could advocate for in the next go round and see what comes out of Madaus.
Thank you, Julie. Very, very important stuff. Lindy, unless it's something new, I don't want to make this go all night.
No, it's something new. I'm tired
Okay.
too. A couple of things. One, what is the purpose now of having a inside the PZ and outside the PZ ordinance? We're all on one basin. The sewer has been in for 8 years now. I wonder now where these requirements that allow certain things to go outside, certain things inside, if that shouldn't be terminated at this point. Because everything is water user. And it's been unfair to people inside the PZ who had to pay for the sewer to clean the water for everything that has gone into the basin. And then my other one was that if we wanted to really get it together, we would look at the Flume, FLUME device that I think both Golden State and the CSD offer at a discount rate, or they did. But that could be what comes in. That will alert everybody. That would alert you when you had your water breakage. And, you know, you can go for 2 months with a leak and waste a tremendous amount of water not knowing. But with Flume, and it's a pretty well-developed device now, I would think that might be something to bring forward too, if conservation money could come in and get a deal to get flumes given to every water user in the county, or excuse me, in our basin. We would have at least a way to not make mistakes about it. You get a notice, and if you're abusing, you would notice that you're using a lot of extra water. So it's just an idea that we might also propose, is to try to get flumes into every water purveyors for free, or I would say for free. I'd like to see that 2.5 million that never got spent that we are paying for. It is coming out of our, we pay that on our bill every month, and we will for another 30 years. And that could be put to much better use that way than to cover some of the liability problems the county apparently had. Anyway, that's it.
Okay, thank you, Lindy. So I think we're going to wrap it up tonight. I think we've had a fairly good discussion. Talked about different things and what we're doing. So I want to thank everybody. We will continue this to our next meeting in March. And otherwise, everybody have a good evening. Unless someone else has anything else to say.
Oh, I have a quick question. So Larry,
Go ahead, Becky.
you'll be putting together a list of questions that we came up with tonight? And then
Yes.
and would you send those to us? So if there was something else that we might want to add, could be added to that before we meet with a county person?
Sure, I can do that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Okay, I make a motion, we adjourn.
Thank you.
Second.
Second.
okay. Bye,
Thank you,
everybody.
everybody.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody. Good
care.
conversation. Night.
How do I leave?